Hello, everybody, and welcome to my studio. It is me, Gideon. I'm also known as Gideon Slut, and I'm your creatively fit coach. This week, we are playing in our art journal, and we are still using abstraction as a means to sort of interpret our theme. And my main focus for this week is the atmospheric influence of wind. Ooh. So we're going to sort of represent that abstractly in our art journal today, and I'm going to show you exactly how I used watercolor, crayons, acrylic inks, a straw, and collage to create this beautiful page in my art journal. So let's get right into it. Here we go. It's another week, it's another episode of the Creative Heart, and we continue with our abstraction journey in our art journal. But before we get in that too deep, let's light a candle and just set an intention for beautiful world peace and harmony, and make creativity awaken in the hearts of everyone so that we can find solutions to our problems and challenges in the world. And I also think of everyone that is not feeling so well today. I really send you some healing vibes, some loving vibes, and some hugs and flowers and everything that is beautiful. I hope that you're feeling better soon. I really want to encourage you to get into a creative practice if you are sick or if you are struggling with your health, because it can really help. There are so many health benefits to having a creative practice. One of them being to reduce your levels of pain, because you're giving your mind something else to focus on. And if you get into your right brain and you get into your creative practice for a moment, it can distract you from whatever you are dealing with. And I sincerely hope that you are feeling better soon. Alrighty then. So today we are going to be looking at atmospheric influence of wind. So at oh my word. Oh, my spelling. Atmospheric influence. There we go. We're looking at wind or air, and we're looking at words that I can associate with that. Air is definitely dry. There is movement. It makes sound, so it's audible. It maybe moves in waves or creates waves. It can even make twisters or hurricanes, cyclones, all of those twister kind of wind movements. That is obviously a force to reckon with. It gives us air to breathe, so we definitely need it as well. It gives direction, so it's definitely moving in a direction. There is a push and a pull of wind, and you can feel that especially when there are strong winds blowing. Then you have suction. I don't know if that's the correct spelling, but anyway, there's pressure. It can cause destruction. It can be so powerful, and it also is an energy that can be harnessed for our highest good if we use it with wisdom. Now, I'm thinking of basic line movements. We have this typical wave kind of movement that I think represents air, and then we can begin to sort of play with that and create those twister kind of moments that work in that indentation. So circles and directionality is all about airflow, isn't it? So that's great. So we're going to play with this energy and with this line movement today in our exercise. So what have I got here today? I've got my art journal here. I did use some masking tape to just tape down my edges. It helps to keep my page nice and flat, but it also gives me a nice clean edge that we can play with in our art journal that always sort of gives us something tidy, and it brings a focus into the artwork. I have already used a pearl white acrylic paint here with my paint mover, and I've smeared this on this page, and that gave me this beautiful pearlescent kind of finish. And I think it will sort of work very nicely into our theme of abstraction, because we've sort of done this with every background but in a different way. So that gives continuality, continuality. What is the correct word? It will come to me now. It gives us um, harmony from one page to another, that there's something similar in our design that we are working on, something that continues. So I also have a piece of my paper here as I take my art journal out of the way, because we're going to just collage on top of that beautiful little piece of paper with a pearlescent finish. So I've got some exercise multimedia paper here, and I've also taped this down to give me a bit of an edge, also to keep the page secure. And I've gone for this vertical sort of alignment. I'm going to work on my page like this, just so that you know. But for now, in the shot, I'm just turning it this way, because I think when I turn my page back and I put it on my page in the art journal, I want a horizontal feeling. So last week we played with a vertical feeling. This week I want to play with a horizontal feeling. But I'm going to turn it upside or portrait style when we play with our techniques today, because we're going to use gravity to our advantage in this exercise. So before we start, what I've got here is I've pre-selected a color scheme. I thought of playing with oranges, blues, grays, and whites. I've even got my drawing inks here in black, orange, and blue, and I've got a different orange here as well. So I think that will be nice to play with. Some fluidity. I think I'm going to get my straw out as well, because I want to do some straw blowing, because we want to use the force of air to help us create a beautiful collage in installation for our art journal. But I also want to sort of play with a little bit with a resist technique. And one of the things that I know works really well is to play with a crayon on your paper before you add your water mediums on top, because this will resist the inks and the watercolor and anything water-based. So I thought of starting maybe with this white, and I want to just make those wave patterns that we just explored on our sort of, what should we call that? Brainstorm session. And I just want to bring those twister kind of moments in here. I know you can't see much, but we will see this when we start to bring in our other mediums. I'm gonna go off page here. Oh, I'm pressing so hard because I really want to make a good indentation with my crayon there. Let's switch to another one, and I'm gonna just continue making beautiful circular spiral kind of patterns here. As we think about airflow and how that impacts our world, and what that would look like if you had to represent it in some form, way, or shape in your art journal. And I think, in a way, if you look at cave drawings of the early man, we started that, process of journaling our story for generations to come. And that's really beautiful. So, in a way, that is what we're doing with our art journal as well. We're sort of making a mark and leaving a record that we were here. So the paper has become our cave wall, and doing your art or making art, being creative, is one way of sort of making sure that you are making a mark and that you are showing the world that you were here. Please forgive my doggies barking today. We have a friend visiting, and they are moving about the house, and there's also some workers for our neighbors that my doggies are very curious about. So I can't control everything, but I do try to continue with my journey in spite of my environment. Okay, let's sort of think what we can do here with the orange that would also represent air. I think want something more flowy, that's erratic, that's like waves. We've got these spirals. Oh, well, let's repeat. Or maybe let's just do like how air would flow through a corridor or like I said, I actually want to play with this sort of verticality in a portrait, because when we put it in our art journal, we will turn it in a horizontal, but we need this sort of verticality right now in order to have a little bit of space for our gravity to work in our favor. Now, if you're going to do this, it can be messy, so be prepared with some kitchen towels so that you don't get caught with a big flood of acrylic ink that might drip everywhere. So I'm just going to put this down, and I'm going to have my tissue close at hand. So I'm using my pipette, and I've pulled up some ink. There we go, beautiful. And then when the ink blots get past the paper, I'll just use my kitchen towel to catch the rest. Awesome! We have one color down. Right, this paper is dry. So now we have the joy of playing with some collage, and I think this is going to look really pretty. But I also thought now a good idea might be to break up these pieces and to put them on this beautiful rice paper. Rice paper, handmade paper, whatever it is, it's definitely pretty, it's light, and it has this beautiful gold filaments in it that I think will give us a nice contrast to play with. So I think I'm gonna do just that. I'm gonna install this piece of paper as a focus here in the middle. We've got this beautiful pearl on the outside, and then I'm gonna stick these pieces on top. So let's first get this down. So I thought it might be easier for me now to work with a bit of medium because that paper is so light. So let's get some acrylic medium down on the paper, and then I'll just place this light piece of paper on top and just, what shall we call it, pin it down with our credit card. So there we've got a very nice foundation of acrylic medium. It's acrylic matte medium. I'm just going to stand up so that I can see what I am doing. I think that sort of feels centered enough. I'm going to take my credit card and just from the outside just drag this over my paper. It's okay if the medium gets on top of my paper, it will seal it. And any excess, you can always just get rid of it. Careful not to tear your paper because it is very thin. Okay, I'm going to allow this to dry, and in the meantime, while this is drying, I'm going to put this aside so that it can dry. But while that is happening, we can tear these papers very nicely. So and there we have it. We represented the atmospheric influence of wind in our art journal today, and we simply played by using airflow as our catalyst in order to get some lovely patterns and flow moments here. It was fun to play with the watercolor and to just blow it around on the page, and then also to use gravity as a way to sort of let our inks flow. Look at this beautiful color. We have the resist of the wax crayon that has also given us patterns that we feel represent the airflow of wind. And then last but not least, I brought this all together with collage in our page, and I think this wave pattern is definitely represented really well. So I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do with this prompt this week. How will you abstractly represent the wind as an atmospheric influence in your art journal? That's going to be exciting. So remember to take a photograph of your artwork, share it with us on the Creative Heart on Facebook, and if you have any questions, do feel free to drop me a comment. Remember to subscribe so that you don't miss out on a single episode of my weekly creative art prompts, and I'll see you guys again next week for another creative episode. So until then, stay creative and bye-bye for now. Wait, before you go, I promised to show you my unicorn painting. So this is what I created with my Patreons over on Patreon. It was a lot of fun. We did a whole step-by-step guide into painting the unicorn from beginning to end. So if you are interested to paint your own unicorn, this was my inspiration. This is where we ended. We worked on gold foil, so that was a lot of fun, right? So if you want to paint your own unicorn, you don't know where to start, you're a beginner, do know that this is beginner friendly. So check out the links below, join my Patreon, and then you'll be able to get access to the full class. More information will be shared in the future. Just wanted to share. So I'll see you guys again next week. Bye bye for now.